God, Blake. LAH Jabber on IMDb doesn't even have the names of the people, the character names.
That's what I'm looking at.
There's no character names. And Drew Goddard was not Jeff in the movie.
It wasn't.
No, I told you.
It makes you wonder what that was about in the credits, you know?
I think he played like
the guy under the blanket.
Probably. All right, we're back, Blake, and today we're talking I'm looking over here, sorry. 1990. I'll just 1994's LAH Jabber. A movie that centers around the AIDS fear of the 1980s. If you don't know this story, Blake, buckle up. Back in the late 70s, the government created AIDS.
Yeah.
And the whole purpose was to give to instead it spread around with okay. So, you know, the plan was to get rid of and instead at this time you had all these guys dancing around like his so they put it on the because the government poisoned them.
Did AIDS come before or after we dropped the gay bomb?
Well, that was back in the 60s. So the gay bomb was never actually dropped. They just spent $20 million, our government did, creating a gay bomb. And the thought process was there. You drop the bomb in a highly volatile area and everybody would just, you know, drop their guns and go to kissing. Yeah. That is real. That's not me trying to make a joke. That is real.
And it ended up we accidentally set it off in our own face, right?
We accidentally set it off in San Francisco. What'd you think about this movie? I make you watch a lot of stuff, and I always put a few of these shot on videos into the, you know, schedule every October. Where does LAH Jabber rank on the movies I've made you watch that you hate or loved?
It's pretty bad. Pretty bad. It's close to the bottom.
For everybody that's never seen LAH Jabber, and this is not going to be a very long review.
It's on YouTube. It's free. Go check it out.
Yeah, check it out. There's a character named Jeff, and the beginning of the movie starts with him and his girlfriend in a car up at Point. And for some reason, he gets these like attacks where his back or his side hurts. Yeah. And she's like, "Did you go to the doctor?" And he said, "Yeah, I went to the doctor." It was more like when somebody gets kidney stones. And I told Blake this. I was like, people don't act like that when they've got AIDS. They act like that when they got like sudden shooting kidney stone pains.
Our dad never acted like that.
No, he just dropped dead. And then we're in I would say a doctor's office, even though I think this was used multiple times throughout the movie. But the doctor told him that they checked him for AIDS and he's got some bad news. You've got AIDS. So
the doctor was very intelligent.
So Jeff, acting like any other normal human that's just found out they've got AIDS, attacks the doctor, slaps him,
and puts a gun in his mouth.
Then goes back to his house. This apartment is one of the worst apartments I've ever seen. We watched Blood Shack, Blake. How does this couch compare to that bed in Blood Shack? Which one's nastier?
This couch, because the couch has AIDS for sure.
So he goes home and pulls.
Like the guy in Coming to America said, Ronnie, when it comes to that apartment, it's a real.
He goes home and is going to commit suicide. It's a scene sort of like out of Lethal Weapon where he puts the gun in his mouth, but he can't pull the trigger because the phone rings and he answers it. And his buddy Keno from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2 is telling him that the boss says he can't take a 3-hour break. He needs to get back to work. So like Blake said, instead of committing suicide, he decides to go back to work. He don't have time for suicide. So he goes back to work in this Amazon box factory or whatever it is, and he's not doing any work, and it takes about 8 seconds for that boss to come out there and fire him. So we've had all these traumatic events happen to Jeff in the span of just a few hours. He goes home and makes a list. Similar to who, Blake?
Chris Jericho.
Or Steve Buscemi from
Oh, I'm sorry.
yeah.
Ronnie, he made a list similar to Steve Buscemi's character did in Billy Madison.
People that he could blame for having AIDS. He did tell his girlfriend he had AIDS. You get away from me. So he's sitting in an apartment.
Credit to him for that too. I don't know if I would have told my girlfriend.
So he makes the list, and the first person he calls is a woman of the night. And it's like a 10-minute scene of them on the phone. I thought there was a dead body beside her under the cover. And he says he'll come over there. So he comes over there and stabs her with an AIDS needle and leaves. She calls the cops. Then we get a scene of the landlord saying, I think it's a prostitute. We ain't got no out of her all the time. Great scene. We're introduced to two cops, Agent Stern and Agent, it's not
Howard.
Reagan, Howard. No, Agent Howard. It's Agent Reagan. These are the two cops, and that's going to change. Don't worry. Because what they did in a movie called L.A. AIDS Jabber, that's about a crazy guy that's running around L.A. stabbing people with an AIDS-infected needle, they decided they were going to weave in multiple storylines to go with it, and we'll get to that in a second. Jeff is running around town, and Blake, about how many minutes of this movie is just footage they recorded on the side of the road or of hospitals or parks or restaurants?
48 minutes.
So one scene is sort of like the scene from a lot of scenes. One of these scenes is sort of like from Basket Case, where they walk down the dirty part of New York just filming stuff. And he walks in between what appears to be a pimp and a regular. And then he gets grabbed by the pimp. And then he beats up the pimp. Then he beats up the white woman. And he stabs both of them with a needle. So if you're keeping score at home, that's 3 people he stabbed so far. And it's important because now the cops are seeing a theme. That there's a wacko in LA stabbing people with a needle. So what they do is they get the needle tested because he told the call girl, welcome to the card-carrying AIDS club after he stabbed her, which was something like I told Frank about a few days ago that they used to say back in the 80s when they would put the hypodermic needles in the seats at the movie theater, or when you'd go into the bathroom and you'd reach in to get some napkins or something. There would be, or when you had a one-night stand and you'd wake up and there'd be like a card taped to your mirror and it said, welcome to the wonderful world of AIDS. You don't believe me? That really happened.
It did.
But anyway, the cops get a call from the lab. This is important. So remember this. The call from the lab stated that the needle was in fact infected with AIDS. And these 2 people or 3 people did have AIDS. Right, Blake?
That's right.
So now they start weaving in multiple stories. One story is some cop shows up out of the blue to talk to Agent Stern and Agent Reagan or whatever his name is. And he has a wife who's being harassed by her ex-husband. And he's threatening to get custody of the kids, even though he's a drunk and been in jail. So he wants the cop, his buddy cop, Reagan, to go and rough him up. Well, Agent Stern can't listen to this anymore. So she looked, as Michael Scott would say, she wouldn't fit in a rowboat, but she got out of the back of the car and said she couldn't be a part of this and leaves. Cut to maybe the most handsome person in the movie, which is the police chief, who calls this detective in and wants to know why his ex-wife's boyfriend's getting roughed up. They spend 10 minutes talking about this, Blake, and tell him what the chief says at the end.
You know what? We got a lot of work to do. Let's just forget this whole thing.
This is after they wasted 10 minutes. And I believe that's the last time we see Agent Reagan. Because for some reason...
Stern.
You sure it's Stern?
Stern is the one they write off.
Okay. So Agent Stern, who's the male.
Yeah.
Next time we see the female cop, she's waking up, sleeping on the floor of a 1-bedroom apartment. It looks like a sleeping bag on the floor. She wakes up and 6 more male cops that they're ready to introduce comes in with the chief. And they let her know that Stern died in a car wreck. So they replace Stern with another male cop who I don't think we get his name. And that's when me and Blake pretty much decided that Stern didn't want to be in this movie anymore, so they wrote him off. A lot of this movie was filmed out of sequence, I think, because like I said, the female cop wakes up sleeping in a sleeping bag on the floor, but like 20 minutes later, she pulls up at a house where her son and husband are, but she can't stay there because she's hot on this case of the AIDS jabber. And the husband's like, hey, you want to stay for supper? I've got some chicken in the oven. She's like, no, I got to go.
She says, I can't. Me and Stern's on this case. Stern's been dead for 2 days.
That is what she said.
We all just look at each other, too. Like, me, you, and my 17-year-old son, we're like, what? I mean, especially him. He was like, Stern's dead.
Probably the funniest thing to come out of this review is looking at Blake's son's face on these videos as we go, because he just gets more and more miserable. I think Blake put some on his X account, but you can just see, like, why am I here? Long story short,
he said, this isn't what I thought it was going to be at all. I said, I told you, we watch really bad movies.
At the end of the movie, the cops have the AIDS jabber surrounded, and he runs at them with the needle, and they shoot him and kill him. And then the two male cops are walking off when all of a sudden they get a call on the radio that says, hey, the captain needs to talk to you right away. Jeff doesn't have AIDS. Then the credits roll.
There's been a mistake at the lab. Jeff don't have AIDS.
Even though there was a scene where they said the lab has said for a fact that that's an AIDS positive needle.
They got to shut down this lab because they ruined Jeff's life by saying he had AIDS. And now, after testing the needle that stabbed these other 2 or 3, they say, yep, AIDS. Those 3 have AIDS too. So, yeah, this was really bad. It's not a horror movie. Why we are talking about it in October, I'll never understand. But you always do this every year. There's always one that's not a horror movie. I know what IMDb says. I'm looking at it. It's not a horror movie.
I hadn't even looked at what's more scary than a madman on the loose. Just look. All he's got to do is walk up to you and poke you with a needle, and you're gone. Like that dude told Jim Belushi in Red Heat, "You make it move, your friend gonna be gone."
You get out of hand, your friend here gonna be gone.
Hear that?
Is it worse or better than Blood Shack?
Worse.
Is it worse or better?
It was made 23 years after Blood Shack, and it's worse. It was made 1 year after Jurassic Park.
And is it better or worse than the Nightmare on Elm Street movies you've watched so far?
It's worse than the Nightmare on Elm Street sequels.
You had to think about it. What are you rating it? 1994's L.A. AIDS Jabber. If you've seen this movie, please leave us some comments in the comments section. Please like this video. If you don't like this video, that means you do not support AIDS.
This is a 1.9.
I agree. For the first time this month, I agree. 1.9, great movie. Terrifying. They try to throw some political stuff in there on you at the very end, but the news reporter is like, hey, my uncle just died of AIDS, but there's a vaccine coming. Just ask Magic Johnson. And then he gets mad and he runs out of the car.
It doesn't matter that he has AIDS. He's a human being.
This guy had been running around town stabbing people with an AIDS-infected needle, even taking that needle to an old woman's face. But all of a sudden, he's a human being.
Yeah.
All right, Blake. Anything else?
Hopefully nothing else.